welcome into the debut episode of the Preserve Podcast. Kyle Willis here alongside the voice of Youngstown State Baseball and the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, Richie Giuliano. Richie, debut episode of the podcast. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. And, obviously for those that are wondering how we get the Preserve name, that's our home neighborhood back in Canfield. We grew up in the same neighborhood and we still do. We still live there throughout our 20. So, that's where this name comes from. I'm really excited to get this thing started. It's going to be a weekly thing every Monday. Hopefully we're able to post it every Monday or Tuesday. But I'm really excited to have this on YSN. And, this is something we've talked about a long time since we've been in college at Youngstown State. So, I'm ready to roll. And there's a special guest that we're going to have later in the show. And, it's going to be fun to see what he has to say.
Yeah, had a little radio show for Rookery Radio early in our college careers called The Land. That was pretty fun, but because of COVID, obviously we had to shut that down for a little bit. But starting back up with the new show, I'm excited. We got a nice episode in store for this week, Rich. We're going to be starting off with Youngstown State Baseball, following up with some Scrappers, and then we're going to kick it up with some Cleveland Guardians, and then we're going to get into a season preview or a weekly preview for Class B for this week. So an exciting episode, and like you said, we have a very special guest in the head coach of the Youngstown State baseball team, Dan Bertolini. He led his team to a 21-36 record this year, 12-16 in the Horizon League. They were semifinalists in the Horizon League Baseball Championship this past season. We're very fortunate enough to have him as our very first guest this week. And without further ado, here's head coach Dan Bertolini. Coach of the Youngstown State University baseball team, Dan Bertolini. Coach, congratulations on the season you guys had this past year. You've had 2 weeks off since the last game of the season. What are some of the things that you've been doing since the last game?
Yeah, I mean, we want to wrap up kind of 2022. We've had some meetings and just, making sure guys are placed for summer ball and everything. And then, bringing in, having people on campus. We had a little bit of a dead period for the last week. So starting this week, we were able to, on Tuesday, I believe, we were able to start getting some guys to campus and, kind of start that recruiting process, fill some needs that we have for this year.
Already looking forward to next season, Coach, but with a couple of weeks been able to reflect on the season, how would you describe on this 2022 season?
I mean, I think overall, I thought it was a pretty positive. We obviously had a stretch there in the middle of the year where there were some difficulties. I thought our guys did a good job being resilient, kind of fighting through some things. I thought early on we played really well. That opening weekend was great for us, and Bethune-Cookman ended up having a good year. And then we kind of got hurt a little bit, and we were trying to find our way. I thought some guys got some experience, got to play some meaningful time, like Chase Franken and Eli Brown, and those guys got to play a lot in the middle of the year, which is going to help them, grow down in the future. And then I thought, I told our staff, if we can just kind of tread water and stay in the mix, I think when we get everyone back and healthy, we should be okay. And I thought we played our best baseball in the month of May and into the last weekend of May.
Now, you did go through some lulls throughout the season, but you also had some really high points. I mean, you talk about that win against Penn State on the road in their country, and you come out with a victory. So talk about how big that is for some of the guys that you mentioned, like a Chase Franken and Eli Brown, the younger guys, to be able to taste victory in those big moments like a Penn State and some of the big wins that you guys had this season. So how big was that for those younger guys?
Yeah, I mean, those are good environments. That's what we're trying to put our guys in. As you see in the regionals, like, you're going to have to play in some tough environments if you're going to get, when you get there, and we want to go play good teams and challenge ourselves. And I thought we played really excellent defense against Penn State. I thought our bullpen was great. Our starting pitching was great. And we've manufactured some runs there. And then I really thought, we had a good win against Pitt. Played really well against Ohio State. Unfortunately, weren't able to get that win. So, there were some definite bright spots for some of those, those midweek games. But, we expect to win every game that we're playing. Whether it's a Power 5, whether it's a whoever, Big Ten, ACC, it doesn't matter. Our guys go out every day being prepared to win, and I thought we showed some toughness and our ability of how good we can play at times.
Now, Coach, you mentioned some of those younger players being able to get some time this year. Going into this year, you had quite a bit of players that were key to last year, not return this year, like Blaze Glenn, Jeff Whaler, Philip Glasser. With those lots of those top players from last year, what were some of the concerns going into this season?
Anytime you lose two guys that play pretty much every game for you in the middle of your lineup and play the middle of the infield. And, I mean, obviously Blaze was probably one of our best players last year, and had a great career at YSU. So we knew that was going to happen. Nick Caruso was another guy that we lost that caught a lot of games for us. But anytime you lose those kind of caliber guys, we knew it was going to be a little bit of a struggle. Guys were going to be put in some positions that they hadn't been put in before, whether it was, it's a little bit different when you're the 6, 7, 8, 9 guys than when you're the 1, 2, 3, 4 in the lineup type guys. So, you have to, there's a little bit to get used to, a little bit of, they pitch you a little bit different. There's a little more pressure on you. So I thought, I thought Lucas did a good job of stepping up and being a top of the order hitter for us. I thought Braden O'Shaughnessy really had a great year for us, obviously, being a first-team Horizon League selection. And I thought it took Steve some time to kind of get used to that, but I thought he did a really good job too. So, those were going to be the challenges. And from a pitching standpoint, we lost a lot of experience, especially in the bullpen. So I think it took a little bit of time for us to figure out the roles in the back end, especially. And I thought, those guys did a good job of stepping up. And those were just, we felt like we were talented. It was just a matter of gaining that experience. Not that they hadn't played, but they hadn't been in those bigger roles.
Now, I wanted to highlight two guys from this season, Coach. When you look at Braden O'Shaughnessy, who's a first-team All-Horizon League selection, and Matt Brodsky, who won the Pitcher of the League in your league. So just talk about those two guys and highlight them and what you saw from them in their breakout seasons here at Youngstown State.
Yeah, I mean, Braden, we always knew he had the ability. He's always been a super talented player. I think it took really, and he played well in spots last year. Just some tough situation for him with three guys that were all conference players in the infield last year. There just wasn't enough at bats to go around. But this year, I think about a third of the way through the year, I think he really started to believe and really understood like how talented he is. And, a lot of those games he put us on his back, and carried us when our offense was struggling. He was a guy that you wanted up in big situations, played, really good defense. I think there's some things we can get better at there, but, kind of bounce around from third to second. That can be difficult, but I thought he made some huge plays. He played incredible in the Horizon League tournament and really down the stretch. So he's just kind of scraping the surface too. I think there's more in there. And I look forward to, this is a big summer for him, getting to play in the Coastal Plains and getting that experience and coming back and being, probably a guy that could be, Horizon League Player of the Year type player. And Matt Brodsky, I can't say enough about, his turnaround, where he was, 2 years ago to now, just a lot of growth there, a lot of hard work, determination. And, he was as good as he was every bit as good as any pitcher in our league. And I thought, very similar to a Colin Floyd type year where he was dominant every time he was on the mound. He gave us a great opportunity to win. A couple games that he gave up runs, there were really some, not really hit well balls. They kind of moved it around. One game in Oakland, I remember specifically, they did a good job executing, but there weren't a whole lot of balls to get out of the infield. And, that was really it. I mean, most of the time he's pitching, he's going to give us a great start, and was amazing in the Horizon League tournament, well-deserving. And we'll get a chance to play at the next level, I believe, here, in July.
Now, Matt didn't play a lot last year. This year, he kind of stepped in as that number 3 for you. When Snyder went down with that injury in the year, how big was it for him to step up? And did you guys think that he was going to have the year that he had this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it says a lot about our staff when John Snyder's a preseason, Horizon League Pitcher of the Year, and that's 2 years in a row where the guy that's the Horizon League Pitcher of the Year, someone else on our staff has won it. But being in the 3 spot, I think John kind of dealt with that a little bit. You have a little bit more of an idea of what the other team's doing, the type of hitters they are, what works against them. You can do as much scouting reports as you want, but until you see them live, I think there's an adjustment there. And kind of that third game, the nerves are kind of out of the system for the weekend. The guys are comfortable. So that third starter has been really good for us because we put a quality arm in that spot, and they've done well. So I think when he was so good early in the season. I mean, basically should have a tough way to lose. He throws a complete game against New Orleans and gives up a home run and extras. He was really dominant. So we felt confident that he would be able to take over that starting role. And to his credit, we moved him all around. I mean, with the weather and everything, for him to go, I think his last 3 starts were on short rest. So that shows versatility and toughness. And not every start, we didn't play great behind him at times. And for him to kind of stay with that and be able to still give us, wins and quality starts, I thought, that was pretty amazing.
Coach, I want to take you back to the Horizon League tournament, which is the most important time of the year for your squad. Pretty good performance by Matt Brodsky on the mound in the opener, I would say, against Purdue Fort Wayne.
Yeah, not bad.
Complete game shutout. So he got the victory for you. And then you come back and it's all hands on deck to beat Northern Kentucky. You throw Travis Perry out of the bullpen, and he gave you that lengthy bullpen outing to kind of tail end it and win it for you. So talk about the grittiness of your squad to come back. You lose against Oakland that night, come back the next day. Northern Kentucky hops out early with that 3-run home run, but you guys come right back and were able to pull a significant lead and win that ball game. So what did that kind of show you from your squad to bounce back so fast from the night before?
Yeah, I thought, we felt confident. We knew that, our offense was really, clicking in the tournament. And really, the Oakland game, the first one was difficult, a tough day for everybody, kind of sat around for a long time, dealt with some weather. It was just a good baseball game. And we had some opportunities to win. And in these kind of tournaments, you got to have the hit with the guys in scoring position. And we weren't able to do that. And anytime you get in the losers bracket, it puts a lot of strain and stress on your bullpen and on your pitching staff. And I thought guys stepped up. I thought John Snyder, gave us what he had. He pitch injured really for his last 2 or 3 outings, but gave us, got us a few outs. And really it's about accumulating those outs. And I thought Travis was a bulldog. I mean, that was a very gritty effort, gave us quality, kept us in the game, gave us an opportunity to come back and win. And I was really happy, for him to be able to get to that spot. And we had kind of been grooming him for that through the last few weeks because Chad Coles had been so good out of the starting role. And Travis came in a couple games and gave us good quality innings out of the bullpen. And so, we knew that if we got into a situation, like we were trying to hold him off to throw against Oakland, but we knew that, we were going to need it, need him to execute pitches. And we had to, there's no getting to that next game if you don't win now. So I thought for him to give us length, that it provided a good opportunity for our staff to pitch in the losers bracket final. Just didn't happen for us.
Now, Coach, another player that played well in that Northern Kentucky win was Turner Graw. He was 3 for 4 with 5 RBIs. Was it nice to be able to have him come back into the lineup late in the year? And did you think that there was going to be a chance he was going to return to the lineup at some point this year?
Yeah, I mean, that was really what we were talking about for most of the year. We felt like if we could get him and Bucko back healthy, we were going to be pretty successful. I mean, he's special. He's a great player. And for him to want to come back and play, I think it says a lot about him. And he wasn't probably 100%. Especially, it's difficult when you haven't taken any swings really. I mean, he did some prep work to get into that spot. Hitting every day, hitting off the machine, off BP. But it's just different when you get in the game and guys are trying to get you out. And he struggled on against Oakland. And against in the first game against IPFW, and we kind of had a really good talk and conversation about just relax and there's a lot of he was feeling a lot of pressure when you're coming back and you're supposed to be a really good player and you're not producing. There's a lot of pressure that you put on yourself where we weren't putting. I don't think his teammates weren't, and nobody other than himself were really putting that pressure on it. For him to kind of take that deep breath and get those, have those quality at bats and be able to bang a ball in the right center field gap and move it around and have a couple RBIs. I think he had 4 RBIs in that game, was huge for us to win. That's big for him moving forward because he's a next level player. He's a guy that's going to, play at the professional level at some point. And I think when he gets healthy, he's going to be really dangerous.
Coach, I want to congratulate you on another great season, over 20 wins. You get to the Horizon League semifinal for the first time since 2014. Now we move off the field. You go into the summer season. You got a huge event for your program coming up in August at the Lake Club in that golf extravaganza. Big time name coming in from the New York Mets. You got Darryl Strawberry. So talk about how excited you are and, highlight this program and, what this means for you guys, how much it supports you guys financially.
Yeah, this is probably our biggest fundraiser event of the year. We need the community support as much as possible. As everyone knows, times are difficult, and this is a great opportunity to help improve our program. These kind of funds help us to travel better, to be able to play really good teams, to buy equipment that special equipment that we can use, whether it's virtual reality kind of type classes or pitching machines or technology that we can use. We utilize these funds for that. And I think it's a great, this golf event is my favorite event of the year. It's so much fun. And to have Darryl Strawberry here, I don't know how many people I know that have told me like that was my childhood idol. He kind of hits the sweet spot for a lot of people because those 86 Mets were kind of right in that time frame, a little bit before my time, but right in that time frame for a lot of the people that attend our event. And he's a special guy with a special talent, and we're so excited to have him. Anytime we can bring those kind of type people to Youngstown, to Mahoning Valley, I think it's great for us and our community. And the Lake Club, it doesn't get much better. The event that they put on, whether it's the food, or we have food trucks out on the course, Annie Ann's pretzels, and we have hot sausage sandwiches, popcorn. There's all kinds of stuff going on while you're out there. And, it's just a great day to raise money for our program, and looking forward to that event. And that'll be kind of the kickoff really for the 2023 season, because that's right before school starts and our guys are back on campus and getting ready to start this thing all over again. It comes around pretty quickly.
Berto, we want to thank you for your time. Of course, you're our first guest here on the Monday edition of the podcast. So we appreciate you coming on. Always appreciate your time. And before we let you go, we talked about golf. I know you're a big golf guy. You brought your clubs on one of the final road trips of the season. What have you been playing, and how you been swinging it?
Tell you, I don't like to talk about my game too much, but it's been pretty good lately. It's been pretty good. I've been striking the ball pretty well. My putting game has been okay. I played actually yesterday with Lucas Nasani. Oh yeah. Coach Marinelli. I got a chance to get out and play with those guys, so that was fun. And I'm going to play a little bit of golf this weekend. I got a couple of recruiting events going on, and really trying to hit that trail hard and keep bringing in guys, good quality players that want to win Horizon League championships and get us there. And I know you guys are this is the first of many really super successful podcasts. Not because of me, believe me. You guys do a great job and put hard work in, and I know this is going to be something special for you guys. So I'm honored that you asked me to be on. I don't know why, but I'm glad that you asked me. And, I wish you guys the best of luck with this new podcast.
All right, Berto. Appreciate your time.
All right, thanks.
I appreciate it. Once again, thank you to head coach Dan Bertolini for the time he gave us earlier last week. Always a great time to talk to him. Glad to hear that his golf game is doing well right now. Rich, your golf game, how's your golf game doing right now?
Not as good as his. I'll tell you one thing. So last year at the YSU golf outing, he stood, I believe, on the 17th or 18th hole, which is a drivable par 4. And every single team of 4 that came up got one free shot from Dan Bertolini from the tee box. This dude with the driver absolutely smokes the ball. He hits it about 380, 400 with his driver on a roll, of course. I've never seen somebody hit the ball that far with a driver in my life. outside of somebody from the PGA Tour. He's unbelievable. He's like a scratch golfer.
Well, it sounds like he's an unbelievable golfer. I wish I could have saw this drive of his. But let's shift our focus a little bit. We're going to shift into the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, Rich. You know a lot about them this season. 9-1. They're scorching hot. Started off with a 4-0 sweep to West Virginia to start off the season. They continued that success on the road against State College. They took 2 of the 3 and then returned home and faced off against West Virginia. Took 3 out of swept the 3-game series out of them. 9-1, Rich. I mean, I don't think you can get much hotter. What have you seen so far from them this year?
Yeah, I mean, they've done everything. They could swing it well. I mean, they've scored 10 or more in 4 games this season out of the 10 they've played. But, it's just the resiliency of this club. Every time that West Virginia scores a run or they come back to, make it a 1 or 2 run ball game, West Virginia gives up 2 or 3 runs in the next inning. I mean, the Scrappers just relentless offensively. When you look at it, their lineup, they've got close to 4 or 5 guys hitting over 300 this season. Their lineup's going to be mixed up in the next couple of weeks with a lot of 10-day contracts. So we're going to see some familiar faces. Zach DeZenzo, who's from Marlington High School, plays at Ohio State. He's going to be on the roster next week. A couple other guys from around this area are going to be featured. So the 10-day contracts for a lot of these guys are over. And, it could be troublesome for the Scrappers because of how good they are and, how well this team has clicked in the early going. They're 9-1, which is atop the standings. And, they're 3 ahead of Frederick and Williamsport, who are 6-4, but this lineup's going to be shaken up, and it's going to be interesting to see. Everybody's going to have a showcase in this league, and that's the fun part about it. So many new faces, throughout this long schedule throughout the summer. So obviously right now you got guys like Sean Tillman, the shortstop, who had an incredible weekend at the plate, 4 for 5 on the game on Saturday. Then he responds 3 for 4 with 3 more RBIs yesterday. He's hitting .433 right now. Buck Anderson's one of the familiar faces on the squad from last year. He's hitting .313. Owen Jackson, he has really taken advantage of every opportunity that he has been given. 4 doubles in 7 games played for Owen Jackson. Almost leads the team in RBIs, and he's only played half the games that the Scrappers have played total. So, offensively, everything's clicking for these guys right now.
Yeah, you mentioned Owen Jackson hitting the ball pretty well, and Sean Tillman, Buck Anderson, Sam Beers, he's been playing well. I mean, all 4 are batting over 300. Sean Tillman's batting over 400.
Yeah.
I mean, through 10 games, he's seen the ball better than anyone right now. And you also mentioned some players around the area playing. Chad Coles, he got on the mound twice this past week. He got his first pro start, got his first win also this weekend. So great to see some of those familiar names. But Buck Anderson, he really started off this hot streak for this club. I mean, you go into game 1 in the opening series against West Virginia, 4 for 5, scores 2 runs. I mean, he starts it off in game 1, continues that throughout the series into game 3, has 2 hits in that game, along with Xavier Carter. Him and both have multi-hit performances in that opening series, continue that on the road. But hitting has kept them in the game. Pitching has had its moments. I mean, they've had some arms come in, log in 3-4 innings. You really haven't seen anyone really go deep into games yet this season, but trying to get everyone some work. But offensively, they've been scorching hot. Those 3 names, Buck Anderson, Sean Tillman, Sam Beers, Owen Jackson, just leading the squad so far.
And you kind of nailed it there. They can't throw more than 4 innings as a starter, so that's a league rule just so they could showcase more guys. So you're going to see 4 or 5 guys out of the pen every single day. So a lot of these bullpen arms are just getting an inning or 2 and maybe an inning and 2/3 every outing. And they try and get them at least 2 appearances a weekend, which is nice. So the Scrappers have had some really good arms out of their bullpen. Their bullpen is phenomenal. This past weekend, they've preserved every single lead that they have had from Friday through Sunday. So the bullpen, the biggest thing is they haven't walked many guys. That's been the Achilles heel for West Virginia in this 7-game series against the Scrappers. They have walked over 40 guys in the 7 games, and that's a recipe for disaster if you're Jed Jerko in West Virginia. So that's been the Achilles heel for them, but the Scrappers have pounded the zone. They have made West Virginia beat them with the bats, and they've been able to get out of some key situations, including on Saturday. Sean Goodwin came out for a 5-inning save. There was runners everywhere, bases loaded, 1 down. He's got a 3-1 count to one of the best hitters in West Virginia's lineup, induces a pop-up to the second baseman, and then he gets an inning-ending flyout. And it's just those situations that Mahoning Valley has been able to get out of, these pressure situations. And, they carry that momentum into the next inning. Then they put up a 3 or 4 spot. Just like that, the game's over.
And one thing that this team has done very well is being able to continue the momentum. And even when pitching has faltered at times, that offense is right there to pick up the defense, pick up the pitching, and they have come in and have supplied runs each and every game.
Yeah, and I talked to Homer Bush about this, and he talked about the competitive nature of his squad, and it's also that effect of hitting is contagious, right? I mean, it's always that one big inning. I mean, we go back to yesterday, 4 spot in the second, 3 spot in the fifth. There's not a lot of single digits on the Scrappers scoreboard so far this summer, and they've been really able to rally behind one another. They've taken advantage of relievers who have struggled to find the zone and have struggled to find their secondary pitches. I think that was a big problem for West Virginia on Friday. None of their guys could find their changeup or curveball in the zone, so they were able to sit fastball heavy and drill a lot of gaps. So I think that's a big adjustment that, Vic Butler, who's the hitting coach, has kind of made throughout this 10-game stretch.
And I think that the one thing that this offense has done very well at is they've been patient, Rich. I mean, going back to the State College series, they were able to force 12 walks as a team in game 3 in the 7-4 victory. 12 walks as a team. Be able to force the other team to throw that many pitches and they have that many quality at bats. I mean, you're seeing everything that this pitcher has. And when they're not throwing strikes like you said, and you're forcing these pitchers to throw strikes and you're getting these free passes, you got to be able to take advantage of it. They've been able to do that this whole season.
They have been in the first 10 games, 9-1, because of the errors by the opposition. I mean, whether that would be taking advantage of walks. I had a stat against West Virginia, and it was last weekend. The Scrappers coming into Sunday, which was a series finale, scored 14 out of their 17 guys that reached base on a walk, which is phenomenal. I mean, they're taking advantage of every single miscue from West Virginia. When they played State College, the Spikes had 10 errors in 3 games. And Mahoning Valley was able to rally back, put a 3 spot up in the 9th inning, and then they ended up winning the extra inning rule, which is new in the MLB Draft League this season. For the extra inning rule, you only play 1/2 of an inning. So the home manager gets to decide whether they want to be on offense or whether they want to be on defense. So State College, before the game, when they did their mound meeting or their home plate meeting with the umpires, they said, I want to be on defense if this goes to a tiebreaker. So the Scrappers get a runner at first to start the inning. Nobody out. If they score, they win. If they don't score, they lose. So they get a guy on. State College has an error, and then they ended up getting the bases loaded, and then they get a game-winning single in the left field. They've taken advantage of every error, including in that 9th inning. Those bases loaded with 1 down, ground ball to first. First baseman throws it in the dirt. Catcher can't make the play. They score the game-tying run from second base. So they've really utilized those errors and miscues from the opposing teams this season, and that's why they're sitting at 9-1 right now.
I mean, like I said earlier, you can't get much better than 9-1. I mean, one of the hottest teams in the MLB Draft League so far this season. Definitely a team to see this season. I mean, all the talent that they've got, they've put it out on display. 9-1. Now, the one game I kind of want to highlight, the one loss to State College.
Yep.
Pitching only allows 3 hits.
Yeah.
I mean, how demoralizing is it for a pitching rotation or just pitching in general to give up 3 hits and lose 6-1?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a tough loss, but it was their first road game of the season. If you think about it, they played 4 at home against West Virginia, and they traveled on the road. They left that morning. So, it was a long day for those guys. So I get it, mentally and physically probably tired, not used to traveling like that, where you play Tuesday night, and then they finally got a break overnight, got to sleep in, and then they come back to the ballpark, and they're ready to go on that Wednesday and Thursday against State College. But, that's been kind of something we've seen across this league so far. There hasn't been a ton of games where there's a lot of hits and, low-scoring affairs. So for Mahoning Valley to lose that one 6-1 is definitely a tough loss. But, like Homer Bush said, the manager, we can't win them all, right? I mean, you're going to lose some games. And, Mahoning Valley has found ways to win doing that. When the box score is not the prettiest, but they're end up on the right side of the scoreboard. But overall, they got to lose one, right? You got to humble somebody.
And like you said, baseball is the sport that will humble you. But Scrappers, they had the day off today. They'll be back in action tomorrow. Rich, who are they playing tomorrow?
So tomorrow they're going to travel, and they got Fredericksburg. They play Frederick in a 3-game series, and that stretches from all the way from Tuesday to Thursday. And then they travel to Williamsport, and they will take on the Crosscutters over the weekend, Friday through Sunday. So this will be a true test for the squad, playing on the road for the first time in a full week for 6 days. But then, they'll get the benefit of the doubt next weekend after that, where they're going to play 6 consecutive games at home. So that should be a fun week. There's so many promotions that the Scrappers are giving out. Military Appreciation Day. You got a college fair day for kids to earn a scholarship to go to college. You also got Buck Night, which is $1 dogs, $1 draft domestic beers, and then you got firework night. So a lot on tap over the weekend and over the week next week for the Scrappers. So hopefully everybody could get to the ballpark and support the squad who's in first place.
Well, there you have it. Get to Eastwood Field and go see the excitement and see these hot Scrappers. They are playing very well, 9-1 going into tomorrow afternoon. But that will take us into our first break. We'll have some Cleveland Guardians baseball right after this.
Why choose local? Because you live here, work here, learn here, relax here, and celebrate here. 21 WFMJ is our family's only locally owned TV station, and our focus is local. Other TV stations don't have that same focus, as their owners are somewhere else. But 21 WFMJ is rooted in the Valley. Local people making decisions that affect your life, right here where you live.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa.
And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing.
Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships.
We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team.
Your goals, our game plan.
Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Change. This one word can make you break out in a cold sweat. But with change comes wisdom, experience, and understanding. At Myers Family Insurance, we can help make changes in Medicare, insurance, and retirement a positive experience for you and your family. We've gone through changes, like our new office and new faces to help our family of clients too.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance. Check us out online at MyersFamilyINS.com or find us on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Preserve Podcast. Kyle Wills here alongside Richie Giuliano. We're going to be shifting our focus into some Cleveland Guardians baseball. And Rich, I know you and I love talking about the Guardians, very passionate Guardians fans. I'm not sure how we feel about the name change going into this season, but that'll be a different story. But just like the Scrappers, Rich, this Guardians team has been hot since the calendar has flipped. Since the start of June, they're currently 8-3. And I've scored at least 3 runs offensively in every game so far this season. So in terms of this Cleveland organization, everyone is playing well from Scrappers to the Guardians.
Yeah, they are. I mean, of course, the former minor league affiliate in the Scrappers of the Cleveland Indians. But, since they've kind of branched away and they're in the MLB Draft League, they're on their own now. But, a lot of the Scrappers fans are still big Guardians fans now. And it's really nice to see them producing the numbers they have over this month of June. And, they've won every series so far. They beat Texas, even with that rain delay where they had to play the doubleheader on Tuesday. You beat a Baltimore team, and then, the Athletics, who lost 10 in a row coming into the series, are struggling. And they kind of had one slip away on Saturday. They had that lead, and then the next inning, Oakland had that 5 spot to kind of pull things away, and they won that 10-5. But overall, it's been a fun month of June. But this is going to be a true test for this squad coming up next. They got their West Coast trip where they're going to take on Colorado starting on Tuesday through Thursday. Then you got the Dodgers over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You know that's going to be absolutely sold out in LA. And then you take the number one team in the Central and the Twins on after your Dodgers trip. They get that day off on Monday, but then they travel and play the Twins in a 3-game series. So it should be pretty interesting. And I think all the fans and the organization is really going to know where this team is at right now and if they're going to be competitive towards the end of the year after this road trip.
And I don't think a lot of people knew how competitive this team was going to be, because if you think about it, Rich, this team has so far this season, 8 players have made their MLB debut.
Yeah.
I mean, this team is very young. Only 3 players are above the age of 30. So very young team. And they're asking a lot from these young players. And these young players are stepping up and playing well. One player in particular that I want to talk about that's been playing well recently since being called up, Oscar Gonzalez. He's been seeing the ball well. He's been in that lineup every day since he's been called up, and he's been on a tear. He had a 3-hit performance this past weekend. I mean, in terms of anyone in this lineup, he's seen the ball better than anyone.
Yeah, Oscar Gonzalez is definitely one of the pivotal parts to this lineup right now, and he's just a rookie, which is nice. So such a big frame on him. He's got such quick bat speed. He's got 9 doubles this season, hitting .391, and like you said, he's hitting a beach ball right now at the plate. A guy that went through his rookie woes to start the season. I don't know if you remember, but he caught that fly ball with 1 down, and he flipped it over the right field wall thinking it was the 3rd out of the inning. He gave the ball to the fan, but that's his first there of his major league career. So a tough way to start, but, you make those rookie mistakes and you learn from them. But, outside of the ball, flipped over the wall with only 2 down, and he's done everything they could have asked so far.
Yeah, Oscar Gonzalez, huge SpongeBob fan, loves the sponge. But another young player that's been playing well, we're gonna go over, or let's say in the lineup actually, Stephen Kwan. I mean, he was one of the hottest hitting rookies to enter the season.
Yeah,
and I mean, he kind of cooled down a little bit, but I mean, he's been finding his groove again. I mean, in the last 7 games, he's batting over 360. I mean, he's back to. Seems like he's back to his old ways. I mean, anytime he swung the bat, it seemed like he was put in contact. I mean, he didn't swing and miss much to start the year. And
no,
I mean, he was one of the key players to start the year. I mean, someone that you're asking a lot. I mean, put him into the lineup as a rookie opening day, asking a lot from this kid, and he's performed well.
Yeah, he didn't strike out at all in the first week and a half. I mean, he was a contact guy at heart, and he was hitting over 300 the first week. Of course, once you get into that, 3rd or 4th week, they're scouting out there, and, all the analytics and all the video that major league staffs have, they're going to watch film on you and see what you're taking for strikes. So they were able to get ahead of Kwan with a lot of off-speed pitches earlier in the counts that he wasn't swinging at. And then, of course, with that, you're not seeing as many fastballs later in counts. And, he was getting out, but now he's getting back to his groove. He's attacking early in the count. He's hitting, 270 now and 16 RBIs, which is pretty solid, but it's not even close to where Jose Ramirez is at. He should win the MVP if he stays on this pace right now. After 56 games, he's got 59 RBIs, and he's hitting .292. 16 bombs already for Jose. No doubt about it, he's going to be an all-star this year in Cleveland. But he should win MVP if he could stay on this pace, because there's no other batter in baseball right now that's putting up the numbers that he has and has really carried this team to a lot of victories this season.
I mean, definitely one of the most exciting players in all of baseball right now. His 59 RBIs currently leads the majors. He's currently ahead of Pete Alonso, who is at 57. So that's just saying what type of year he's having. And it's not just this year he's having. He's been doing this every season since I want to say 15.
Yeah.
15, 16. I want to say 16 because I think 16 was the season they had Juan Uribe.
Yep.
And ever since 16, he's been, when they had him in left field, he was showing coaches, players, hey, I can play.
Yeah.
And even Terry Francona was even saying before that season, he could be an everyday player. And going to that 16 season, he's proved every day. And once he was able to claim that starting third base job midway through the 2016 season, he hasn't looked back, and he's been a stud for this club. And I'm very happy he got that extension earlier this year.
Yeah, he kind of bursted onto the scene when, the Guardians and the Indians at the time lost to Francisco Lindor, because I feel like he was kind of under the shadow of Frankie. Jose obviously doesn't speak too much English, and with the personality that Francisco Lindor had, he was a fan favorite with everybody. And then you got him at shortstop. You had Shane Bieber and, Corey Kluber on the mound as your starting pitching. You had some other really likable names on that team, and he was kind of under the shadow of all those other guys. But then once they all left and got new contracts and went other places, he's the guy that stepped up and really showed Cleveland and the fan base what he is made of. And they signed him to that big deal, and he even took off a couple $100 million for that deal. So he showed that he wanted to stay and he wanted to be the big name and the big face in this franchise, and he deserves it so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt he definitely deserves that contract. I mean, and the fact he took a pay cut just shows you the amount of love that he has for the city of Cleveland. And I think the city of Cleveland definitely gives that love right back to him. I mean, I know in the All-Star game, he got a lot of love when it was here in Cleveland. Shane Bieber, I mean, you saw how electric the crowd was when he came on, struck out the side in the All-Star game. I mean, Cleveland definitely shows their love to their players. But Jose has been one of the reasons why this lineup has been, I wouldn't say as stable, but he has been a big contributor to stabilizing this lineup. A team like you said, he used to be overshadowed by like the likes of Francisco Lindor. I mean, this team had a lot of talent in 2016, 2017. We had one of the best bullpens. We had Cody Allen, Andrew Miller. I mean, we had Brad Hand at one point. And then offensively, you get Kipnis. You had Mike Napoli. You had Carlos Santana, Jan Gomes. I mean, all players who were playing spectacular baseball. And now once you lose these players, the only player that seems to be left offensively is Jose Ramirez. And he's been that solid number 3 hitter for this club. But this lineup also has had some help. Josh Naylor. Yeah. I mean, ever since that White Sox series where the fans fed him 8 RBIs after the 8th inning. I mean, I knew last year before he got hurt, I thought he might have a big year. He had 7 home runs prior to his injury. He's batting .252. I was like, man, he could have a big year. It'd be nice because that was the first year or two that we didn't have Frankie. We needed someone to stabilize the lineup. And he was showing the power. He was hitting for a higher average than what he was when we first traded for him. Because the trade that sent Francisco Mejia, or not Mejia, the trade that we got Franmil Reyes, we got Franmil, we got Naylor, and the only player that really has been playing the most has probably been Franmil, but Franmil has been hurt as of late. So Naylor has been sitting there providing a stability along with Jose, because Jose can't do this lineup, or he can't do all this work by himself.
No. And, when I look at this squad, and, that kind of brings us into our next segment that we wanted to do. And, what does this team need to do to preserve a win and preserve a lead? And I'll start it off. And you talked about it with Josh Naylor. Since coming back from that COVID spill back in, the month of May, he's hitting up under 200. I mean, he just hasn't had a great stretch. Like you said, after Chicago, he was, the main focus on this team for power and consistency. But, coming back after the COVID 2-week spell where he was off, he's been hitting under 200. So they really need to get him back in the lineup. My second one is involving the crowd. The attendance has been really bad this season. When you look at it, Cleveland's 26 out of 30 overall in attendance. And, I get it. They've had a couple of rainouts, and, they play some midweek games at 1 and 2 o'clock, and everybody's working during those times. But, the fans got to find a way to get to the ballpark and support this team. And then my third and final one is, get to this bullpen. This bullpen has been absolutely phenomenal. One of the best ERAs in the American League so far to start the season. You got guys like De Los Santos, who we picked up in free agency. That's got an ERA of 2.76. Brian Shaw, the veteran, after coming back from Denver, nobody expected him to be good at all. And he's kind of lit it up for the Guardians out of the pen. He's been consistent. Nick Sandlin's been really good on his 17 innings. And then, of course, you got one of the best closers in baseball in Emmanuel Clase. Clase with an ERA of 1.85 has only blown 2 saves. He's 11 for 13 and struck out 29 guys this year. So those are my 3 keys to preserving a victory and, preserving wins for the Guardians this season.
Yeah, I can't remember if you mentioned Eli Morgan, but Eli Morgan, he's been phenomenal out of the bullpen. Someone that, like Cal Quantrill last year, didn't really have a spot in the rotation, so they moved him to the bullpen. Yeah, and he's been put in every situation, from late inning situations to being able to log 2 or 3 innings in relief. He's been able to do it well, and he's been able to do it effectively. Now, my 3 keys to preserve a victory for this week, Rich: strike early. Starting pitching for the starting pitching for the Rockies for this upcoming series have an ERA of over 4.8. Only two of the probable starters have been announced. All two have an ERA of 4.8 or higher. And as for the Dodgers, they're going to this week on a 3-game losing streak.
Yeah.
And with a team that has that much star power, strike early, and you can't play from behind against a team like that. Make the smart plays. Don't let errors lead to runs. We saw what happened this past weekend at Oakland. Had the wild throw from Josh Naylor that led to some unearned runs. Cost us a victory there. Play smart. Mentally be in the game. My third key to success: stay sizzling in the month of June. Like I said earlier about the Guardians, since the month of June has started, they are 3-8 so far, and they have scored 3 or more runs in every game. So stay hot in June.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the key so far. I mean, they kind of had a lull there later May where a lot of fans were not showing up to the ballpark because they weren't having a great stretch. And then they brought up an Oscar Gonzalez, a guy who's brought a lot of energy. And, of course, you mentioned the SpongeBob walk-up song to the plate. And he's kind of become a fan favorite right now with, a lot of the Cleveland fan base. And then Naylor's getting back into the lineup a little bit. You got Maile and Hedges who are kind of contributing behind the plate here and there. So, they're turning the corner right now. But like I said earlier, this is going to be the telltale sign of where this team is headed in the next few weeks when you got the Rockies, the Dodgers, and the Twins, all 3 of those in a row. So, I mean, that's a big test for this team.
And it's also note that this team is battling injuries. I mean, like I said earlier, we don't have Franmil right now. He's hurt. Aaron Savali, he's currently on his rehab assignment. He's trying to work his way back. We've been shorthanded for a good part of the year, and we're doing all this hurt with a bunch of rookies from the minors that were just thrown in there.
Yeah. I mean, Connor Pilkington, another guy who's made his first career start in the big leagues a couple weeks back. And, he started 4 games already in a role that Savali would have in this rotation. So he's performed well. He doesn't throw the hardest, but he locates really well. He's got good off-speed stuff. And, I think that's a guy that the Guardians are going to want to have in the future. He was that trade for our second baseman a few years back to Chicago. Pilkington, I believe, was a 3rd-round pick out of the draft. So that was a big name that a lot of people were waiting to come up in the ranks. And, with our starting pitching being so good, we didn't have a spot for him the last 2 years, but we finally brought him up with some injuries this season.
Well, it's glad to see that some of these younger players have excelled as they are being thrown into. I mean, it's not hard. I mean, it's not easy being thrown into these starting spots and say, hey, we need you to produce. And they've done exactly that. But before we wrap up our show, we're going to slide into some Class B baseball, Rich. We're going to go over to the schedule for tonight's games at Bobstein Park. All these games will be on ysnlive.com. Starting off at Scene 1 at 5:30, we'll have Whiting against Dura Edge. At Scene 2, we'll have Ballistic against Athletics. On Scene 3, we'll have Creekside Fitness against Avalanche. And then at 8 p.m., we'll have Nightline and Astro Falcons at Scene 1. And then on Scene 3, we'll have Eagleware against the Prospects.
I'm really excited to see the Nightline and Astros game. Nightline handed the Astro Falcons their first loss of the season on Sunday, where they played a doubleheader. They lost 11-10 in a barn burner. So really excited to see that game tonight. And, that's going to be a fun one on Scene 1. I mean, those are 2 squads that are battling right now. Of course, the Falcons are against Creekside, and Creekside took the lead. They're 11-1 in the standings, and Astros just 10-1. So they're half a game back. But Nightline, who hasn't had the best year, they pulled off the biggest win of the season so far by any team in beating Astro.
I mean, anytime you can beat a team like Astro, it's definitely a nice confidence boost for whoever team. And what's nice about a game of baseball, it doesn't matter how good you are. One play, one thing can change the outcome.
Yeah, I mean, any given day, right? I mean, I've said that all along in the broadcast I've done. Any given day in baseball, teams got a chance to win. So we'll see how the Astro Falcons respond here today against Nightline on Scene 1. That's your primetime game, 8 o'clock. I'll be fortunate to be on that call later tonight.
Well, make sure to catch out Richie on the call later on ysnlive.com. That'll wrap it up for our debut episode of the Preserve Podcast. I'm Kyle Wills alongside Richie Giuliano, and we'll see you guys next time.